Hi, this is Melinda. You're at Paris Living, where it is unseasonably hot. Wherever you are, I hope you're staying cool and hydrated during this heat wave. So, the last time I talked about the best and worst neighborhoods in Paris was a few years ago, summer of 2022. And now that it is summer of 2025, I'm going to give you an update on the best and worst neighborhoods in a series of two videos. The first one that I'll do today will be the Arrondissement 1 through 10, and the second video 11 through 20. I should start by saying that everything is somewhat subjective, and even in the areas that I may not love, there are always going to be exceptions, so I don't want to overgeneralize. This video aims to give a closer look at each arrondissement, the places that I like and don't like, but at the end of the day, it really is just my opinion. So let's start with the first arrondissement. The first is tricky because a lot of it is taken up by the Tuileries Gardens, the Louvre, the Rue de Rivoli, and Rue Saint-Honoré, which is kind of like a Rodeo Drive. There are a lot of expensive shops, offices, and there's just not a ton of residential real estate. There are also a lot of five-star hotels like the Marais, the Crillon, Hotel Costas, Mandarin, etc. The area that I do like, and where sometimes I've seen some great residential properties, is around Palais Royal. So generally I would say from Rue du Louvre over to Avenue de l'Opéra, and then between Rue des Petits Champs to the north and Rue Saint-Honoré to the south. I've had clients who've bought really beautiful apartments. There is some really gorgeous architecture, and of course Palais Royal is sublime. No surprise, it is very pricey. Moving on to the second arrondissement. This one is interesting because historically it has been the center of the wholesale textile industry. There are entire buildings that used to be devoted to this, and over the decades have eventually been converted into residential apartments. There was a citywide movement in 1970 to convert these centrally located spaces from showrooms and offices into residential apartments. And a lot of the old textile buildings, which look for all intents and purposes like residential buildings, were converted from commercial. That said, it is still pretty hard to find an apartment in the second. Turnover is very, very low. People hold on to their properties longer than in other areas for one reason or another. And now properties will hold their value even more because of the plan by the mayor of Paris to convert the first, second, third, and fourth arrondissement into pedestrianized areas with lanes for buses only. Honestly, I like the entire second arrondissement, and I don't think that you can really go wrong. The third can be hit or miss, and while the vast majority of it is great, and most of it is considered, a big part of it is the Marais, there is a part of it on the eastern edge which borders on the Centre Pompidou, and it tends to be a little bit seedy. The area immediately past Boulevard Beaubourg towards the Marais has lots of little side streets that tend to be saturated with restaurants and bars. However, I do know people who have properties on some of these streets and are very happy with them, so it really is case by case. Once you go past Rue du Temple, you're in the clear, you're all good. The third also has an area called the Haut Marais, which means the high Marais in the north, which would be like Rue Notre-Dame de Nazareth, Rue Marais, for example, close to Place de la République. And those also used to be a little dingy, but have come up in the past 5 years, and there are some great properties there. The only holdout for some people is that it's very close to Place de la République, which is a popular place for that great old French pastime of protesting in massive numbers. So, on to the fourth arrondissement. The fourth arrondissement is a bit similar to the third in the sense that it actually contains Centre Pompidou, and therefore between Rue de Renard and Boulevard Sébastopol, and then between Rue Rambuteau and the river is the section I would probably avoid because, again, it's saturated bars and restaurants. There's that same level of seediness. And again, once you cross in the east side, Rue du Temple, moving eastward, the rest of the fourth is fantastic. There's Place des Vosges towards Bastille, there's Saint-Paul, there's Hôtel de Ville, and the fourth also contains Ile Saint-Louis and Ile de la Cité. Then going across the river into the fifth, I don't have anything bad to say about the fifth. I think it has a lot going on. Between the Latin Quarter, the Pantheon, the proximity to the Jardin de Luxembourg, and of course a large section that is on the actual banks of the Seine. The only area I would probably avoid is right around Metro Saint-Michel, so that would be between Boulevard Saint-Michel, Quai Saint-Michel, and Boulevard Saint-Germain and Rue Saint-Jacques. There are a bunch of little streets in there, like that are just full of bars that are open late, tourists. It can just get really noisy and crowded. I think that the fifth is surprisingly more affordable than most people think, and there are a lot of opportunities there, especially when compared with the neighboring arrondissement of the sixth. Speaking of the sixth arrondissement does not have any bad areas. However, it is extremely expensive. Properties definitely hold their value, but prices don't go up very fast. I think of real estate there like blue chip stocks. If you love Boulevard Saint-Germain, if you love Saint-Germain-des-Prés or walking down the Rue Jacob and you have sentimental attachment to this very iconic area of the left bank, I think it's great. You just have to have the budget to handle it. Moving on to the seventh. The seventh is also expensive, but less than the sixth. The area closer to the Seine is very popular. There are a lot of historic buildings. The French national government buildings are all there in a cluster near the river between Metro Solferino and Metro Invalides. Otherwise, there are a lot of historical monuments such as Hôtel des Invalides, École Militaire, of course the Eiffel Tower and the Champ de Mars. Generally, there is a lot of really gorgeous architecture. The only thing that I've often had clients not respond so well to is this sort of southern triangle at the bottom of the seventh, which is where the OECD is, and it's just extremely residential and really quiet. It feels a bit dead. I'm talking about Avenue Lowendahl, Avenue de Saxe, and Avenue de Breteuil. So moving on to the 8th arrondissement, I hardly ever have any demand for this area, not because it isn't nice, but because it's almost all offices, a lot of law firms. Restaurants do lunch service, but not dinner service, for example. There is, however, the famous triangle d'or, a phrase that I have seen applied to other areas of Paris or French cities or suburbs, which is frankly ridiculous. This is the Triangle d'Or in the 8th. It's between Avenue Georges V, Avenue Montaigne, and Avenue des Champs-Élysées. It's extremely expensive. It is a big draw to foreign fortunes, I will say that. And it's fun to walk around, but the prices are exorbitant, and I personally don't feel that it's worth the money. There is, however, an area in the north of the 8th, right around Parc Monceau, which is very, very pretty. It's near Metro Courcelles, and I like that area very much. The properties are expensive, and the buildings are absolutely gorgeous. So once again, you'd have to have the budget. The 9th arrondissement has changed a lot in the past 20 years. It used to be known for its red light district around Metro Pigalle, but that has been really rapidly phasing out. And now there are a ton of really cute boutique hotels, small bakeries, small restaurants, and a lot of, I guess, for lack of a better word, hip places to go. The southern part of the 9th includes Opéra Garnier and the big French department stores, Galeries Lafayette and Printemps. All the way in the east, I would probably avoid anything up on Boulevard Rochechouart because the Metro Line 2 is elevated there. Then moving on to the 10th. The 10th arrondissement has also seen huge changes and increase in value over the past 10, 15 years. The 10th stretches across the Canal Saint-Martin, and on both sides of the canal, there are a lot of small side streets with boutiques, all kinds of different restaurants, all kinds of different cuisine, and establishments that have made it a really, really charming area. The only places that I have some reservations about are the areas in immediate proximity to Gare du Nord and Gare de l'Est, which are big railway stations, because as I said in my previous video, all of those train tracks that are going out of the huge stations are areas that will just always negatively impact real estate value around them. There is also a small area around Metro La Chapelle and Metro Stalingrad where, unfortunately, even though there are some absolutely gorgeous apartments, it is a bit chaotic, and there are also some streets that are similarly saturated with restaurants, which to me has a negative impact on property value because of odors that permeate the buildings, honestly, even if the extraction fans are up to date. Otherwise, I love the 10th, and I think there are really a lot of great opportunities there. So that's it for Arrondissement 1 through 10. Thank you for listening. The next one will be for Arrondissement 11 through 20. As always, if you want to contact me, please feel free to email me or DM me. I'm always happy to chat. Bonne journée à toutes et à tous.